and welcome back to another episode of Next to Madison. On today's episode, I am sitting down with an extraordinary woman who has been successful in almost every element of her life and decided to really kind of take on her inner guides and take on a new kind of life and become this spiritual leader. And she's been able to help so many people, from individuals to major businessmen to corporations, just kind of find their way and to live the best life they want. Because at the end of the day, we all want to live an extraordinary life, but most of us don't know how to live an extraordinary life. We see the news and it gets us anxious. We get into our heads. We worry about things that probably won't happen. And it's amazing people like my guest today that can help us really tune in to ourselves and to help us find the extraordinary things in everyday life and to live the life that we were actually intended to live. So with that being said, I'm going to bring on my guest. She is the founder of the Palace of Extraordinary Miracles Foundation, and she is also the founder of the business collective Foundation 100 that helps businesses get to where they need to be and to be successful. So with that being said, I'd like to welcome Mynoo Maryel. How are you?
I'm really well, Madison. Thank you for inviting me to your show.
Oh, I'm so honored that you're here, and there's just so many kind of questions, but I want you to start by kind of explaining who you are and your background so people have a sense of that.
Sure. Yes, so Madison, I was brought up in India, and India is a very spiritual place. It is also a highly competitive place, one of the best places to train you for the competitive world. And I took the competitive route and went on to graduate from here in got into computer science, and then moved to live in London and was there for 35 years until I got to a point where nothing made sense. So I became a serial entrepreneur. Converting ideas into business was something that really gave me a lot of joy. Got into leadership, got into inspired leadership, worked in the top echelon of British industry, the European Union, and even actually interviewed some of the most inspired leaders in the world to create an Inspired Leaders Index. So it really operated at that level until I got to a point where nothing made sense. And if you looked at externally at my life, it would be the kind of life a lot of people would want. We had a great home in the heart of London, and the only stress in my life was my son did not feel university education had anything to offer him. So as an Indian mother, that's like a very stressful thing to cope with. But other than that, there wasn't anything. But one thing led to another. I had a health crisis, and I have someone who is my mentor, who's introduced me to my spirit guides. I would talk to her once a year, and when I talked to her that year, she just said, you have to drop everything and go away for 3 weeks. But my health condition was so severe that, and she said that the moment you make that choice, you'll be fine. You'll recover.
Oh my God.
I just thought, well, maybe I'll try it. If I recover, that's great. If I don't, I'm in the hospital. So I made the choice, and that's the point I chose to go to Bali, and for 3 weeks. And literally within 4 days, I did recover. So I kept my promise. I went to Bali for 3 weeks and stayed there for 9 years.
Wow.
And that really became my journey into miracles. It became my journey into self-liberation. I connected to the calling of my soul and decided that the next phase of my life was going to be about living an extraordinary life where all aspects of my life coexist with ease, grace, and joy. And I remember writing this statement, feeling so good, but I didn't know what grace meant. So I circled it. And it just felt like, once I came into my conscious awareness, it felt like so alien, but I wanted it. And whilst I was in Bali, I created for myself what I called as my 7 pillars of living this extraordinary life. And I decided for the next 12 months, I was going to implement them every single day, which I did. And everything transformed, I just completely transformed. The person who went there for 3 weeks was not the one that came back to London. I came back very clear, very decisive. I decided to wind up my interest in London, move to Perth, Australia, very close to Bali, completed on my relationship of 17 and a half years. There was nothing wrong with it. It was just complete. So we decided to have a happy ending and new beginnings party. We invited all our family and friends.
Wow. I love that. The new beginnings party. I mean, that should be the word for divorce. Divorce is such a negative word and an emotion behind it. I like the new beginning. That's cool.
Yeah. Well, the other piece that's important is also the happy ending. So it was like a happy completion, which is equally important to actually have a fresh new beginning. So it was quite something,
So I think that most people, they're trying to get what they want, and they're doing all these things, and they want to become successful financially, right? And then they get the house and the relationship and the children or whatever they want, and they have the money. And at that point, most people must, even if they're not happy, they must be like, okay, well, this is it. Now I just got to make more money. But you were very financially well off, and you still knew, like, it's something inside you was like, there has to be a change. Like, how were you able to walk away from that?
Well, it was as if I just felt a hollowness, and I could not explain it. My entire circle were people who really enjoyed that space of prosperity. So I couldn't even talk about this hollowness. It just felt like, I don't know what it feels like. It just felt incomplete, like a big part of me was missing. So I walked away from it because I just knew I had to find myself. Like, in everything that had occurred, I had just lost myself. I didn't know what I wanted. All I could feel was this hollowness. I just knew there was more to it, but I didn't know what that was.
And so when did you start working with your spiritual guide?
I would say I started working with them in 2010, very consciously and in a very concerted way. And there's a way in which I learned, because Madison, I was trained in India, where the mind is like king. So you just have to. It's not a welfare state. You just have to do really well for you to survive, even, let alone thrive. Yeah. So I was like very mental. So the spirit guide stuff was fluffy enough by itself. For me to work with them, I needed a very logical way of doing it. Like, even meditation, my mind just wouldn't stop. So even though I had videos and stuff, I couldn't do any of those. I created my own way of really calming the chatter of the mind. And then working with the spirit guides was like a very methodical plan of action. I would wake up in the morning and have 5 minutes with my spirit guides, and I would just sit there with my notes on the iPhone. So what do my guides have to tell me today? For several days, nothing came. I just felt good. That's all. But nothing came. And then I started receiving certain words, and I started writing them. And then by the end of the second week, I was receiving sentences. And then I started writing. I just became this prolific writer. And I would read my writings and I would say, wow, this is good stuff. I don't know. So then I started implementing it.
Wow. So all of us have spirit guides, correct?
We all have our spirit guides. We all have our guardian angels. We are born with guardian angels, and spirit guides change from time to time, depending on the direction you're choosing for your life. So the difference really is guardian angels are much more strategic, and they're forward looking. They are the ones who get your spirit guides together. Spirit guides are much more tactical. That intuitive feeling you have, or you suddenly say something and you say, oh, I don't know where it came from. It comes from your spirit guides.
How many do most people have?
It varies a lot. There are at least 2 guardian angels that most people have, but how many spirit guides varies depending on what you're up to. And they do change. You do from time to time have a changing of the guides. And when you have the changing of the guides, you really do feel very like unsupported, even though there's no reason to feel unsupported. But that's just because there's like your guides are changing because you're meant to go into a different direction in your life. I mean, that's like a whole experience.
Wow. So who are these spirit guides? People that have passed on that are now?
Sometimes there are people that are passed on, but most often they are people who have actually lived on this planet. So they do have they do understand what's going on. So it could be humans. It could sometimes be, like ascended masters who we might be praying to. They could come in as a spirit guide. So it's different guides for different people. Sometimes it's some of your ancestors who have chosen to support you ongoingly. It varies, and usually when if you have a number of spirit guides, there's often one of them that's like the spokesperson, because if you have 4 or 5 of them speaking, communicating with you all the time, there'll be complete confusion. So there's often one person that is like communicating with you. I mean, I do this work sometimes with people where I connect them to the personalities of their guardian angels and as well as the spirit guides, and teach them how to work with them in the way that I did. So it made practical sense, because I was at that point, I was not able to meditate. All this stuff about going to the zone, I didn't know what that zone meant. I know it all now, but at that time I didn't know what that meant. I'd never had any experience of it. I didn't even know the spirit guide stuff. I just wanted it.
Because a lot of people, I feel like you hear meditation and you read about all the benefits, but like me, when I go to meditate, it's hard to calm that almost like to-do list in your head and really like center and kind of. So how were you able to overcome that?
So by the time, it took me nearly 2.5 years of being in this wonderful isolation of Bali and the magical parts of Western Australia, right? To arrive at this space. And what I received was, we have 3 brains. That's how I like to explain it. We have a mind brain, a heart brain, and a gut brain. The mind brain is the brain as we know it. And the mind brain oscillates between past and future. It's about survival. And it is equally important. If you don't survive in this physical body, then you can't fulfill what your soul is called here to do. So the mind brain is really important, but it doesn't want to be the one running the show. However, we often give our power away to that. So we'll end up oscillating between past and future, right?
Yeah.
Heart is the other brain. The heart brain operates in the now. And the heart is not affected by any emotions. It's not affected by the past, not affected by the future. You can imagine if it was, we would all be dead, because it will be like oscillating like crazy.
Yeah. True.
Whereas it just stays in the now. So heart is really important to connect us to our presence.
So that's like being in the present, where people say that's where the peace is.
Yeah. Yes. The gut, which is your colon, is another brain. It also is connected to all your organs. And the gut brain is the custodian of all the wisdom that your soul has amassed through all of its various journeys. Hence the gut instinct.
Oh, wow. Okay. So all its journeys, meaning all your times on this planet.
All your times on this planet and beyond.
Wow.
It's a custodian of your soul wisdom.
That's so interesting. So we really do carry stuff from our past lives.
We do. The wisdom part, right? Now, to get into a space of meditation, if you got your mind, your heart, and your gut aligned, it just completely silences the chatter. And the way to do that is through a breath pattern. It's a very powerful breath, and it's very simple. You can do it with your eyes open, you can do it with your eyes closed. And it's literally a sequence of 9, 4, 6. So you breathe into the count of 9, you hold to the count of 4, you breathe out to the count of 6. And if you just did that 5 times, it just completely calms you down. You do it 10 times, you're like completely aligned, and you can just go into this meditative space much more easily.
Wow.
9 to 6. Now, I did that. I received this like a download that, follow this breath pattern. And I started doing it. And I saw that I was like really throughout. So I created a practice for myself, Madison, that I would wake up in the morning and I would do 3 sets of 10. So 10 times I would do 9-4-6 breath, regular breaths, 10 sets of 9-4-6 breaths, regular breaths. So I did 3 sets like that. So throughout the day, I was like walking around as some aligned person, which I'm sure helped me, connect to the calling of my soul. Now, for those who are not meditators, those who've got a very busy mind like I had, what I also do is that when I start my meditation, I do the 9-4-6 breath, and then I create an imaginary bucket. I just imagine as if I have a bucket, which is a sound bucket, and I have a bucket, which is a thought bucket. Okay, and the moment I hear any sound, because when you're not in that meditative space, or you're not able to, then even a slightest sound just doesn't allow you to go in the zone. So the idea is you just become very conscious of your breath, do the 9-4-6 breath, and then I focus my attention in my heart. And every breath I take, I fill my heart with love, kindness, and compassion. And I breathe out gratitude and peace. And if I hear a sound, it just goes plunk into the sound bucket. If a thought comes in, it just goes into the thought bucket. And I keep breathing in love, kindness, and compassion. Breathe out gratitude and peace. And that really helps. It's easy, and I'm really honoring my mind as much as I'm honoring being in the present, as much as I'm honoring connecting to my gut.
Wow. So so it's a practice, but you can really kind of get there and master kind of your thoughts and your emotions and your mind.
Yeah.
So on your website, which is very beautifully done, by the way, the whole thing is expecting miracles. That's your big thing as the norm.
Yes.
Because people think the word miracles and they go, oh my gosh, where did it come from? It must have been God or the universe or whatever they believe in. But how do you expect them every day?
Yes. So the key thing here is, the calling of my soul is to connect humans and humanity to the miracle that they are. And really, what I stand for is expecting and accepting miracles being the norm, and that being the foundation of living an extraordinary life.
Right, because everyone wants miracles every day. We just get so involved in all the noise.
Yes, so the first thing there is to understand what is a miracle. So a miracle is where something beautiful occurs that makes your heart sing.
I like it.
Right? So the fact that your heart is beating, that is the song of the heart.
Yeah.
So as long as your heart is beating, there is a miracle here. That's why it's singing.
Okay.
So what's the miracle? What's causing my heart to sing right now? Right? And really what I say to people is, you are the miracle. Come home to you. This isn't a journey of going home. This is a journey of coming home to you. Right? So when I say to you, what's making your heart sing right now? Right? If I was to say to you, well, just look, what's making your heart sing? If I was to say what's making my heart sing, I'm just loving what's making my heart sing is our discussion. Having the opportunity to share this. I'm sitting comfortably, I'm hydrated, looking at both our glowing faces.
Yeah.
The temperature is great. So, it's like just little things add up, right? Within a few moments, I've got so many things that are making my heart sing.
So it's
and there are many moments that make up 1 second. And there are at least 60 seconds in a minute and 60 minutes in an hour. So I say to people, if you really want to become a graduate of this miracle world, you just do it for a day. You know, keep noticing moment by moment what's making my heart sing.
Yeah.
You
I
know?
love that.
Yeah. And where this whole piece about expecting and accepting miracles become the norm is when you start operating like this, noticing what's making your heart sing, the fact that it's beating, the universe comes in. The universe is in service of us. And the universe basically operates, it has one modus operandi, only one. And the way it operates is it applies a multiplier effect to whatever it is that you're vibrating.
Yes.
Right? So when you go into the space of noticing what's making your heart sing, and you start really noticing it and noticing it and noticing, the universe gets the cue and it says, okay, she likes her heart singing. Let's give her more of that.
Yes. I like that.
You know, and that's what happens. It starts showing you all these different ways in which your heart can be singing. So here we are in the middle of a pandemic, you know, and so much fear and so much uncertainty, you know, and so much of the unknown is going on, and a heart is still beating, so it is singing, you know. And so there are many people who've been listening to me do this exercise. They go on a miracle binge.
Yeah.
And there you go. Nature is showing us so much evidence of that universe's multiplier effect taking effect. You know, look at the waters of the Grand Canal in Venice.
Yeah.
I love Venice, and it's always been dark and black, and now it's like pristine and crystal clear. You have dolphins in the reclaimed harbor of Mumbai. You know, I have blue skies and fluffy Simpson clouds.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the luminescent waves in Southern California, you know, rainbows, rainbows, rainbows everywhere. Like literally, I've had like the last 2 weeks of Berlin, London, people are just sharing all this stuff that's making their heart sing. So you can see how the universe is multiplying it despite the fear, despite the anxiety, you know. There's a whole reclaiming of nature that is taking place. And it's showing us, you know, I say to people, just it only took a few days of us being at home for the air quality index in Delhi to be to be 25 as opposed to Switzerland being 54. And it was more than 500 and something.
Isn't that amazing though? Just like a few days. And yeah, I've seen the pictures where you can actually see the Himalayan mountains.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Now, that's not because humans did something. We did nothing to fix it. We did nothing to fix it. All we did was came home to us. We went into social distancing, took our attitude and our opinions of vibrations of concern that we were dumping on nature. We stopped dumping because our focus was on ourselves, and nature just went, okay, reclaim itself. Nature can reclaim itself faster than humans can fix it. But we also are nature, Madison, right?
Right.
You know, we too can reclaim ourselves faster than we can fix ourselves.
So I want to talk about that because you're very in tune and you have spirit guides and you know how to talk to them and you can kind of understand things that are maybe coming. So you and I had talked briefly off air about this coronavirus and what's happening right now. And you started telling me about signs you were getting. So let's get into that.
Okay.
So.
Yes. So 2020, let's begin with the 2020 energies.
Okay.
2020 as a year has been written about in many scriptures. In fact, almost all scriptures talk about it. And they talk about it as the year that humanity takes off. And humanity takes off, like you can take off and collapse, or you can take off and then keep going, right? So the difference between the two is that the energies of 2020 are so rampant and so rapid that the takeoff will take place. And for that it calls for humans to have a lightness of being. And to have that lightness of being, it is a baggage-free flight. So
Yeah.
it calls us to literally release all baggage of the past. The good, the bad, the ugly, and the beautiful, all of it. So yes, so it's a baggage-free flight. And what I was shown very clearly before 2020 even began was that the Earth was set to rebirth itself, around May time, which is now. And by the 9th of May, that rebirthing was to happen. And in the past, Earth has chosen to start over. And there were many of us that were working to bring about a vibrational upliftment of the planet itself so that the Earth could choose to transform itself rather than start over. So the good news is the Earth has chosen to transform itself.
Because start over would mean extinction of us, right? Okay.
Absolutely. Not just us, I think a lot of it. So, that's a good news. It has chosen to transform itself. And what I was shown was all the elements, fire, air, earth, and water, were going to come together in their full might to support this transformation.
Wow.
And I was sure that we were going to begin with fire. And we began with fire from Australia, those very huge, humongous Australian fires. And then air was the next ones to come on, followed by earth, followed by water. And air, I just thought it would be tornadoes and that kind of stuff. It wasn't. The virus was the air element. And the air element came in its full might. Hence, something developed in a little lab became a pandemic that spread across the planet. The earth element was unleashed in its full might. Now, I don't want to go into the controversies and stuff that are out there because my focus is really to unconditionally accept whatever is and focus on utilizing this opportunity to uplift humanity so that we can get to a point of no return and become an integral part of this rebirthing that is taking place. So what I saw was that, like literally the divine hijacked whatever plan was being implemented. So the fact that fear became so widely propagated across the planet and so many stories were coming out of how severe it was, the divine came in and took over. And what that meant was, with fear, humans were able to go back and distance themselves from each other. Like literally peacocking stopped with a face mask. What's there to peacock,
Yeah, that's true.
And literally it was humans connecting to what they really value themselves. They went through that whole cycle of getting anxious, being rebellious, then feeling a deep sense of loss, and then settling into it. And I was speaking about this from the beginning of the year, saying, the air element has come in. It's coming in the form of a virus, and it's spreading. Yes, and its intention really is to have humans reconnect to who they are, make that choice for themselves to emerge as, the love frequency that humans embody and connect to what are their core values.
Yeah.
Without feeling that they have to fix everything outside of them. You come home to yourself and allow, without allowing, it would be impossible to cope with the situation right now.
Well, that's it. And that's the next thing I wanted to ask was, so many people have lost their jobs and,
Yes.
their kind of livelihoods. What do you say to them as far as kind of coming back to themselves and how they deal with that?
Yes. The first piece, and I'm here in India, so a lot of India runs on daily wage workers and cash, and what is occurring now is akin to the Industrial Revolution, where people left their villages and came to cities, and industries got formed, and there was no going back. What is occurring right now is akin to that, where people return to what really matters to them, what they truly value. And there will be, once we get to a point of there is no going back, this thing will just disappear as fast as it spread.
What do you mean by once we get to a point of no going back?
To the old ways of operating.
Okay, so once we as a collective species
yes,
decide that we've accepted this and we're going to make positive changes,
we start making the positive changes. We start choosing for ourselves. That's why I'm doing I show up every Thursday online from 5:30 to 6:30 Pacific time, and I'm talking right now about what's next, and it's a journey into the 7 C's, which is going to support you as you carve out what's next. And the 7 C's are choice, certainty, collaboration, co-creation, coexistence, celebration, and coherence.
Okay.
So a few things to understand about what's going on is, the new norm is already in, which is good news. That means we have made progress. As the human race, we have made significant progress. And there's a big chunk of us that really are not going to go back to the old ways of operating. We just haven't got the critical mass there yet, but we are making good progress. So there are a few things about the new norm which are important to understand, which are that in this new norm, unknown is known.
Okay.
Uncertainty is certain. Change is constant. It is the death of survival. And it's thriving instinct that is called for.
Interesting.
And take nothing for granted is a modus operandi.
Yeah.
Right? Now, what that means cumulatively is, well, the two things. What it means cumulatively is that what is certain is that, the earth shall thrive. That is now certain.
What was that again? Can you repeat that? The earth is what?
The earth will thrive.
Mm-hmm.
That is certain.
Yeah.
Okay, that is now solidly anchored, as evidenced by all this transformation of all of those things that we were really worried about in terms of climate change. Even the ozone layer, the hole in the ozone layer has been repaired, I'm told. It's happened. Lots of phenomenal stuff is occurring. There's obviously something happening with the water as well, the ocean waters. We have one particular species called the olive turtles, which are supposed to be mostly extinct and studied in laboratories. And 60,000 of them showed up on our beach in one of the states in India. And they would, in the bygone days, they used to appear to breed. But they thought that most of these have already become extinct. Well, there were 60,000 of them. They didn't just grow overnight. They were there.
Oh my gosh. They kind of came out to reclaim.
They came out to share with us, to collaboratively co-create. So what the foundation of all of this is, the earth is thriving, decision made. All living beings that make it up are going to thrive. What is going to make the difference between whether you thrive or you just survive or you no longer exist is going to be dependent on your attitude.
Very well said. Let's go into that.
Yes. So, in terms of what this virus is showing us, the fact that it has gone on for so long, we had a little bit of unknown, we would all panic. And it's been at least 2 months,
mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
And it's happening all over the world. There is no one person who has an answer to anything,
That's true.
So we are actually united as a family, as a global family that is going through this crisis,
Yeah.
And what is happening, Madison, is literally the planet is being recalibrated and anchored with these new norms. Unknown is the known, uncertainty is certain, change is constant, and it is the death of survival. And thriving instinct is what's called for, because the planet has chosen to thrive. It hasn't just chosen to survive.
Right.
So it is no longer about survival.
Okay.
It is about having a thriving mindset. Now, when we have a thriving mindset, it will never be only about you, right?
Yeah.
There will be your community, your world, your environment. All of that comes together.
Okay. That makes absolute sense.
Right? So it's like rather than operating from a survival instinct, if you just know that the thriving instinct has been activated in you, and you go into, okay, I'm just about to make this decision, and I tap into my thriving instinct, what's the response? You'll get a different response.
Okay, so if you have a question about which direction to go in or a business deal to do.
Yeah, tap into your thriving instinct.
Because I get, the survival would be how much can I make? I'm not willing to give up any equity, or I don't want too many people involved. That's the survival.
And the foundation of that is fear.
Yes. The thriving is I want to give up what I need so we can all be successful, correct?
Yeah, yes. It's not just give up. I honor myself and my self-worth. And from that space, I honor that in everyone. And we will collaboratively have much more to share than if I just hold something for myself.
Very well said. And it's true. I think a lot of people do. They operate from that survival fear standpoint, where they don't want to share ideas in fear that, so it'll be taken from them.
Yeah.
So to say, but the thriving, and that's a good thing to think about too. Because I think for me, it's kind of like, who can I involve in certain things that will make it thrive?
Yeah. And the other piece that I've been working on with businesses, and I see that playing out brilliantly right now. We started this collective called the Federation 100 because I'd received this download about the playing field for business is going to be a playing field of extraordinary results, which has three things operating in parallel: unprecedented performance, operational excellence, and transforming quality of life for you as the leader, for your stakeholders, and for the planet. For all three faculties running in parallel. And I didn't know how this was going to be the way in which business was going to be done. I just was guided to just, create the intention of the game, define the playground, the rules of the game. I got downloaded 7 pillars of extraordinary results, and I have about 20 or so businesses in different parts of the world, in India, in England, and in the US that are playing this game. And even in this time, some of them are reporting their highest grossing months.
Oh, that's
even in this time.
Yeah,
Yes.
It's great to hear, because all you hear is just depletion. It's nice to hear that there's and obviously the essential businesses are thriving, but it's good to hear that.
These are not essential businesses, these are businesses, and like some of them have pivoted, and by applying the extraordinary results principles, where you're going for, when you're doing the pivot, when you're designing a new product, when you're designing a new communication, you address these three things: unprecedented performance, operational excellence, and transforming quality of life for yourself, your stakeholders, and the planet. And that's how you're communicating. Those are the things that you've built into what you're bringing into the world. You literally rise above the clutter, where everybody's affected by fear. I'm finding these businesses in industries that are actually completely down in the dumps, because they're implementing this. They rise above the clutter. They're getting the best people to work for them. They are recruiting and paying very good salaries. and they've achieved like 5 times in their monthly turnover than they had achieved for the whole year, and it's continued. You
That
know.
and the thing, the last point you made about the lifestyle, um,
Yes.
this is probably helping with the virus, as everybody shifted to that work from home,
Yeah.
where people were spending a lot of time commuting, and just the quality of life. They weren't getting home. They were getting home so late, leaving so early. So you're kind of seeing the lifestyles change, where people have more freedom in their work.
Definitely, I'm seeing that. And work from home, Madison, comes with its own challenges, especially when I see people here in India where the homes are very small, and there was a work from home culture, except that quite a number of people from your home worked outside the house. Now everybody's working from home.
I think everybody's ready to get back to the office. I'll tell you that much. I think everyone's like, okay, I need a break.
So what it's doing also is it's getting people to find their own space. After the initial, tiffs and being in each other's faces and stuff, they've all come to a space of allowance, which is why I kept saying, this is not a vacation, guys. This is going to continue until you really get that allowing yourself to just be. Allow yourself to just be, receive yourself in your magnificence, and honor your self-worth. And that's what is starting to happen. People are now starting to respect each other. I mean, I have great respect for my maid, who in India you do have maids who comes, and she can't come anymore. She's not been able to come for the last 2 months, and I'm like, my God, how did she do it? Clean the place and cooked, and how did she even do it? And here I am bringing it all together. You can imagine in family, when was the last time mom, dad, kids, grandparents actually shared the housework and played games together?
Yes, there's definitely a lot of blessings for sure. But it's like, how do we all get on that same level to make this thing go away, so we can actually hug each other again?
So I know that's I'll talk about the hug part and also the smile part.
Right, we're not seeing smiles anymore because the mask.
Yes, I'm going to talk about that very specifically because smile is so important here. Madison, what the attitude of humans that caused that destabilizing of the environment was our voracious desire to fix everything.
Oh, interesting.
So it was always like fixing. There's something wrong out there that we have to go fix. There is something wrong in our relationship. There's something, right? So you can imagine we just went into this rampage of fixing. It could be fixing our face to...
which I know a lot of people in LA and in New York too, and all over the world are like, where's my Botox?
I know. So that fix it attitude basically keeps something that requires to be fixed in place. So what I say to people is, how can you make a difference at this time? Is by you focusing on you, noticing that which is whole and complete within you. Even if you feel like 100 things are not and 2 things are, okay, just really learn to appreciate that. Come home to you. And if there's any fixing you want to do, because you're just compelled to, just focus in on you. As you transform your world, the world around you starts to transform, as we have seen with how nature is reclaiming itself. Humans stepped away and they stepped into themselves.
Yes.
Right? The other thing to get, when we do that, we connect to what's our unique innate vibration. Each one of us has a different one. And when we are in that vibrating in our innate vibe, we feel we are in flow.
Yeah.
And you'll notice as we've had the lockdowns and the social distancing have going on over an extended period of time, people are like starting to unconditionally accept what is.
Yeah.
Rich and the poor, you know, different cultures.
Mm-hmm.
There is that unconditional acceptance of what is. And we are starting to step away from that desire to fix stuff outside of us, because actually we can't because of all these restrictions that are there. And when you start connecting to yourself, like a light bulb goes on that, oh, I do mean something.
Yes.
I mean something, and we start honoring our own self-worth.
Yeah.
And that is dignity, reawakening ourselves to the dignity of us.
Right.
And that's all there is to do. Nature, trees, their innate vibration is okayness. So it's as if as we return to ourselves, kicking, screaming, however it may be, there are more and more and more of us around across the world returning to ourselves. The trees are just spreading their blanket of okayness. It's like we are all being cuddled by this fleece of okayness. And then it starts to become okay to be with ourselves.
Right.
And we're starting to give ourselves the present that we have most desired, which is the present of our own presence.
Right. Because when life was so busy, I mean, I know for me, there would be times where it's like, I was just, you know, surviving essentially, just going from, point A to point B, getting things done, having a, pardon me, having a to-do list. And now
Yeah,
it like forced us to take that, take that busyness away and actually sit with yourself.
yeah. You know, in my journey, I became like this writer and I started writing. I wrote 29 books and
Oh
Spirit
my God.
Guidance, not to be published yet, not to be published yet. And then it was like, yes, go publish. And I just thought it was going to be one of the 29 books, and it wasn't. I was downloaded a new book called The Bee Book, which has been published. It is available on Amazon.
Yes,
And
I saw that on your website too.
yeah, and it's interesting, right? It's like I was the master of winning the do race, a hamster on multiple wheels,
Yeah.
and I landed up writing the Bee Book. And that the bee lifestyle is a really powerful one, which is choose a B word, rather than have a to-do list, have a B list instead of how you're going to be today.
Oh, so like be happy, be productive, be
Yeah.
joyous, be
Yeah.
grateful.
So
That's
if you choose to be happy today, allow the doing to flow.
Yes, that makes absolute sense. So I know some people, and like myself, are listening going, oh my gosh, she was able to connect to these spirit guides. Like, can you give us some tips on how they can do that to get the answers they need?
Yeah. The 946 breath is a really powerful one that just connects you within yourself, right?
Okay.
Because your spirit guides are going to communicate from within you, right? So you will literally, there isn't a voice that starts speaking to you. At least that didn't happen to me. I don't hear voices. I don't see anything. I just know. There's a knowing that comes in, right? So that connection to your spirit guides is like a knowing that you have, which is unequivocal. Okay, for that, doing the 946 breath is very easy. Breathe into the count of 9, hold to the count of 4, breathe out to the count of 6. Do 5 of these, 10 of these, whatever you feel like. Just feel in your center. And I say to people, just begin by, even if you don't know your specific guides, begin by, what do my guides want me to know today? And allow yourself to like literally get that answer from within you without your mind thinking about it. You just ask the question. I did a 5-minute counseling session with my guides every morning for a whole week, where I would just sit there and I'm not going to move for 5 minutes until I get something. What do my guides want me to
So
want me to?
do you ask them a question and then you do the
Well,
breath?
I did just because I was so logical that I couldn't just, now I can do all of that. I can just sit here and I receive downloads. But when I began,
Yeah.
my left brain and was so active that I couldn't just sit there and believe that something was going to happen. So I would ask a question.
And then you would end up getting the answers eventually?
I'd start getting a word here and there, and then I started getting sentences. And then I started just feeling it in me. And then I started writing. It was like, wow, where is this writing coming from? It was automatic writing. My mind wasn't engaged. My mind was present, but I was writing. So it developed very, very fast. And I have seen this, Madison. I've had readers of my B-book who were totally not in this space. The B-book actually chronicles my journey and how I discovered this world of being, and so they've been implementing the things that are in it. And many of them have become like amazing connectors to spirit guides.
And
We
then,
all are connected.
so do you do like readings on people to connect with their spirit guides to help guide them?
Yeah, I have done that. The calling for me now is to limit myself in doing private sessions. So I'm doing many more programs, So I do have a Journey into Miracles program, which is online now. It used to be happening in Rishikesh and Bali. Now we just completed our first one online.
Oh.
And it was equally profound, Madison. In fact, it was even better because they would come on for 3 hours. They would learn something quite profound. And I'm about full spectrum well-being, where you're thriving physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, socially, and environmentally. So every day they would have some aspect of all of this in their journey for 3 hours. And then they had the rest of the day or the following day before we met again to integrate it in their daily life.
Wow.
It was quite magical to see the transformations every day. So I find that is a better way in which I can serve many more people.
Yeah.
I'm doing the Journey to Miracles online. There's a program that, just because of where we are, the new norm that has been anchored, I feel it has literally pushed many people onto the top of a pivot where they have to make a choice for their life.
Yes.
Right? And on the one end of the pivot is a choice from fear. On the other end, it comes from love and fulfillment. So I've actually created a program called Pivot.
Oh, okay. And that's all on your website?
It will be. It's just something that is very, very fresh and that has just been created. So depending on when you're going to go online, we'll have it on the website. Before that, it's already been created.
Oh, that's great. And so one question I want to ask that I think holds people back from living their best life is that they care so much what other people think.
Yes.
How do you really shed that? Because no matter how, like if you're being or you're centered and all that stuff, like there's, somebody could flip you off down the street or somebody is having a bad day and they take it out on you. How do you like not let that come in?
Yeah. So the strategy I say to people is, in my world, just shutting things off or even letting go of something actually holds it in place. Right? So rather than thinking, oh, I just have to let go of this and push it away to one side, you hold it in place, right? So what I say to people is, when something like this happens, and you feel what you feel, honor yourself. By really honoring you, I feel this way. It doesn't feel good. I want to retaliate, and it doesn't feel good. It's taking me off my game. Acknowledging how you feel, you're honoring your own self-worth, that enables you to recover from that very fast. And then I say to people, make a conscious choice to unconditionally accept what is. And look through your miracle lens. What's making my heart sing? Even though this is happening, my heart is beating away. I mean, come on, I'm feeling like shit here.
Yeah.
Sorry to use
No,
language.
you're good.
But what are you thinking about? You know, and then you go into the up your vibe and you're out of it. Now, you know, the exciting thing for me, it's just really weird, but the exciting thing for me with this corona thing is we could wear this mask thing and even glasses, so people can't even see us.
Isn't that weird?
So what do they think? They think we are weird. Well, they are equally weird with this massive mask on their faces, you know.
Yep.
But what they are going to see and feel is our presence.
Yes.
This is where I go back to the smile question that you asked, you know, and the hug question that you asked. Given that what people are going to feel is our presence, you know, and when we would hug people, we would often really sometimes violate the space, you know.
Yeah.
Where here they will feel our presence, and we will really want to communicate what we feel through just being present to it. Hug was not the way in which you connected necessarily.
Yeah.
You know, you started using hug as a way of connecting, but actually we weren't connecting.
Interesting.
You know, right?
Yeah, it was kind of like an action.
It was an action. It was the act of hug, as opposed to the action of connection. So what is available to us now is connection.
Yeah.
You know, just looking at another who you may not even recognize because they've got their glasses and their masks, all you can do is nod at them and be fully present.
Yeah.
You know, and that connection happens.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a deeper hug.
Yeah, that's
than what we were doing previously.
No, that makes complete sense. So when do you think, you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, but when do you think we'll kind of be back to embracing each other and going about our everyday lives?
So one thing to get is the faster we recognize that there is no going back anymore, the faster we realize that, the faster we will be able to move forward.
And when you say no going back,
to the way we did things in the past, you know?
okay.
Like money being the only way in which you can be gratified, you know? And
okay, that's good.
habits and practices that we had. Voracious shopping for the sake of it, as opposed to consciously choosing, I'm going to go, Amazon has started delivering non-essential goods, I'm going to go and have a splurge. But that's a conscious choice.
Right.
Right? As opposed to the addictive pattern of behavior that we had gotten used to.
Right, just indulgence and I have to have this, or keeping up with the Joneses, so to say, right? That was a big thing. Yes.
So the more the new norm is so different than what it was before, that the reality is there is no going back, there is only moving forward. You know, and as we choose to move forward, you will see, you know, what is happening now is it's as if a domino of the pandemic got created, and it was like domino was dropping, so all of them were falling. So what was necessary was for certain dominoes and cluster of dominoes to get out of the pack, even in terms of the COVID infections, right? So we need to have certain countries, certain cities, certain towns actually being COVID-free, COVID-free, COVID-free. And it would be great if they were clustered in particular regions. So then that region is out of the domino effect, right? So that has already started to happen. You know, we have Bhutan is completely COVID-free. Bali is the first state in Indonesia to be COVID-free. Kerala is almost COVID-free. Italy is right down right now. So it's starting to happen. Those clusters are starting to happen. They're getting out. So there will be opening that will take place. It's important to just follow some of the rules rather than be rebellious. And when the opening takes place, there will be momentarily a rise in infections just because there are more people out there. But I also know that countries are preparing for that. They weren't prepared for it before, you know? So they're preparing for that. So there will be many more stations where you can literally go in, get diagnosed and get treated.
Yes.
And I'm seeing what is happening in Dubai. It's opened up, the lockdown is off. People aren't necessarily rushing back to work. They are operating in the way, more or less in the way they operated before. They've got tents, which are like COVID treatment centers, drive-through, assessment that's taking place. So they did have a rise in cases. 150 went up to 800 a day. And they're all being caught very earlier on and being treated,
So the rise in testing or the rise in cases is naturally occurring because everybody's ramped up their testing.
It is that, and as people come out, here I am so protected. I haven't left this place for like nearly over 72 days.
Wow.
my apartment. So of course I'm very safe. And if I suddenly start going out, I might actually catch some stuff. And maybe I become COVID positive. I don't believe that I will. I'm doing a lot for my immunity boosting, but that can happen with people.
Yeah.
And the main thing is they just need to know where to go to get that handled. I know in India there are many places that have been converted into hospitals. Hotels is where doctors and nurses are being kept from the hotels closest to the hospitals.
Yeah.
So a lot is done. So it's great to see that physical action happening on the ground. Going back to the way it was, where you were seeing crowds and crowds and crowds and malls and cinemas and all of that, that's going to take several years. To recalibrate to the way it was. Maybe there's a different form of cinema viewing that we will engage in. There'll be a different form of entertainment that we might go for. But it's going to recalibrate in its own way. When are we going to just go there and be hugging and holding each other? I see it happening very soon. I just literally see it before we get to December 15th, 2020, I see us actually coming together in a way that we honor each other's space, and being able to touch and hug each other if you choose to. But we will be coming from a space of presence first.
Okay, so you said December?
Yeah.
Things will start to open up and get back to normal, but people really won't kind of almost let their guards down a little bit until December.
It's the new norm. It's the new norm. That's the key thing.
Interesting.
So, redefine your normal. That's why, I have been shown by my guides the new norm in different strata of society, in different systems that we have. But I keep going back to, if you just remember that the new norm is unknown is the known, uncertainty is certain, change is constant, it's a death of survival, thriving instinct is called for, take nothing for granted.
Yeah.
And practice unconditional acceptance of what is, be present to yourself, honoring your own self-worth. That's the key thing for you to know. And if you did all of that, it keeps your immune system really strong because you're in your center. The fear and all of that will be happening around you, and you may be affected by it. But the moment you acknowledge that I'm feeling fearful, it does not have a grip over you.
You're right. That's true. Like maybe, I'm operating out of fear or I have anxiety because it's the unknown, and just accept it.
Yeah. But if you don't acknowledge it, it's difficult to accept, Madison. So I say to people, just keep that antenna very alert. Regularly make a list of everything that's uncertain right now, and make a list of everything that is certain despite this uncertainty. Then your mind is relaxed. Otherwise, it'll be screaming away, saying, "Oh my God, take notice. This is uncertain. That's uncertain." Well, you acknowledge it.
Yeah, that is true. So tell us where they can find you to get your book and all that stuff.
So the B book is available on Amazon. It is available as a Kindle book, as well as a hard actual physical book. So you go ahead and you can order it online, and you can get in touch with me through my website, which is mynoomaryel.com, MynooMaryel.com.
And we'll have that on the website as well, you guys, so you can go to the Next Madison .com website and go to the episode page, and all the links to find her will be easily accessible there.
Yes, and I have Mynoo Maryel is my page on Facebook. You can get in touch with me there. I would love to hear from you. We will be, and I show up every Thursday at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time for an hour. So you can find me online as well. How do you get invited to that? There is always an Eventbrite page. So I'm just thinking, you can, on my Facebook page, there will always be an event for the next Thursday. So you can just go in and sign up for that. And that way you will at least see me every Thursday. That's where I will be publishing, the Pivot program, the Journey into Miracles that I'm doing. The Federation 100, which is a business program, is something that you apply for. So if it is something you're curious about, message me through Facebook or through my website. I would love to hear from you.
That's wonderful. Well, this has been such an amazing episode. And I know that, I've had some anxiety just because there's so much unknown, and trying to make plans is very difficult. And, I live in New York, but I'm now in Colorado. So I'm out of my home, and you don't know when you're going back. But what you said, really, of accepting what is, understanding this new normal, and really just kind of going with the flow and connecting to ourselves and being okay with it. I think, a lot of people in the past maybe weren't okay being alone, but now it's kind of teaching us some things, and to look at the positive and not always focus on survival, but thriving.
Yeah, claim it, really. Stop fixing is my biggest thing. Nothing to fix. You're whole and complete. Perceive yourself as that. And Madison, if unknown is the known, uncertainty is certain, change is constant, thriving instinct is called for, take nothing for granted. Well, what else is there but to get creative? Absolutely.
100%. That's what you have to do, right? Because everybody can accomplish and be whoever they want to be. So it's up to you and your mindset and your acceptance and your thriving and all that good stuff. So Mynoo, thank you so much for being my guest. And again, you guys, you can go to her website at Mynoo Maryel, which is MynooMaryel.com. Again, that will be on our website, nexttomadison.com, on her episode page. So if you're looking for more answers, do that. Go get the B book. I know I'm going to go and purchase it because I just need a download of so much good information. So thank you so much for being here. It's amazing. And
Thank you.
Of course. And you guys at home or listening in your car, wherever you may be, thank you for listening to another episode of Next to Madison. And we'll see you guys next time to find out who's next.
Hi, your host, Madison Malloy here. I just wanted to remind you guys to please follow the show on social media at Next to Madison. And if you have any questions or suggestions for the show, or you feel that you would be a great guest on the show and would love to be considered, please feel free to email me at nexttomadison@gmail.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the show on all podcast platforms. And I thank you again for listening.